Hello, Princess. Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Verdict, a series where I tell you what's good, what's bad, and what my verdict is on a brand new released movie. Make sure to subscribe. Let's get into the video. Today we are talking about Disclosure Day.
Why would they do this?
When the time is right, everything will become clear.
Whatever happens, don't you let go.
A meteorologist and a cybersecurity expert find themselves at the center of a conspiracy from an evil corporation to cover up the existence of extraterrestrial life. Those things are easily confused. They both kind of look like testes. Directed by one of the GOATs, Steven Spielberg, and starring Josh O'Connor, Emily Blunt, Coleman Domingo, Colin Firth, and Eve Hewson. Yeah, son. And fun fact for you guys, this movie was number 4 on my most anticipated movies from June to December. I actually made a video on that, so if you want to go check it out, I'll leave the link in the description below.
Please watch it, please. I need more views.
So, let's get into what's good about this movie. And like I mentioned, this is a Steven Spielberg movie, so you can expect that sense of wonder and intrigue that he is so good at capturing in his movies. The plot overall is really intriguing, and the mystery of what exactly Josh O'Connor's character Daniel is carrying and the information that he has. It did not take long for this movie to have me genuinely interested in what's going on. This is something that I will cover in the bad section, but this movie tonally was a bit all over the place for me, but when it's at its absolute strongest is when it is a sci-fi thriller. When it stays grounded and serious, this movie is genuinely really enthralling, and I was glued to the screen. I just wanted to know what was going to happen next, and the sequences, when they do follow that tone, are genuinely incredible. The performances overall from the main cast of characters were just fine for me. Nothing bad, nothing too exciting. Other than Coleman Domingo, I found his character Hugo Wakefield to be genuinely the most interesting character in this movie, and every time he was on screen, I just couldn't help but being so endeared and interested in what this guy has been through and what exactly he's doing. He's sort of like our guy in the chair for Josh O'Connor's character Daniel, where he's like directing him and giving him information and leads of where to go and what to do. And I found that relationship really interesting. But overall, Coleman Domingo, once again, as we all kind of know now, is just one of the most charismatic guys in Hollywood and just delivers a genuinely endearing performance. Now, for the element of this movie that stood out the most to me, and this might be like film nerdy of me, but the camera work, especially in the early scenes in this movie, a couple of like the action chase scenes. Yes, this Steven Spielberg movie does have some chase scenes. Surprise, surprise. The camera work in those scenes is absolutely phenomenal. The way they move the camera to zoom in on someone, go above and over, around, then be back behind someone in one single fluid movement was genuinely incredible, and it was some of the best camera work I've ever seen in a film, period. There's a few short one-take scenes in this movie. You know, they're not like a gimmicky like 15-minute segment or anything, but you know, 5 or 7 minutes, or maybe 6 or 7.
Kill yourself!
Now for the bad. Like I briefly mentioned in the good section, tonally this movie was really all over the place for me, and it may be my biggest issue with it. The movie for the most part follows like 2 groups of people, and one is led by Daniel, Josh O'Connor's character, and his girlfriend, who's played by Eve Hewson, Emily Blunt, who is playing Margaret, and her partner, played by Wyatt Russell. And switching back and forth between these characters, it would switch from sci-fi thriller, really interesting, grounded, tense story with Daniel, then it it would swap over to Emily Blunt, and it would be like a fun sci-fi adventure film, and they just didn't mesh together. It wasn't like, oh, this is the comedy relief section of the movie. It was more that these two tones just didn't jive with each other at all. And it might be wild to say, considering he's like one of the best directors of all time and, you know, highly revered and loved. And Spielberg is one of my favorite directors of all time, like Jaws and Jurassic Park are both in my top 10 all-time movies. My biggest problem with this movie is Spielberg's style. And the problem is, I don't think this movie knew what kind of Spielberg movie it wanted to be. And I don't know if Spielberg knew what kind of movie he wanted to make. One minute this movie is more E.T. vibes, and then it switches over to a more grounded and gritty Minority Report kind of vibe. And if the whole movie was more Minority Report over E.T., I think this would have genuinely been one of my favorite movies of the year, and just generally a much stronger film. And on the other side of that, when it leans more into that like fun sci-fi adventure, it actually borders on like corny. It's cold! And that is not something that I feel like I've ever seen from Spielberg, at least not that much. I even heard some of the audience after the movie saying, yeah, some of that was like actually quite corny. And I had to agree with them. I didn't go and say that to him because that would be crazy. That's how I felt too. I get my validation from you guys, not total strangers. And weirdly enough, this movie follows very, very similar beats to Ready Player One, which obviously is a Spielberg movie. And that is a movie that I definitely enjoyed. I'm one of the few people that actually really, really like that movie. But you know, I've seen that movie before, Steven. I've seen it before. There's a few plot devices in this movie, and one of them is like a literal device. So I don't want to go into anything that would be a spoiler, but these plot devices quickly become like they do whatever we need them to do to further the plot kind of device. There was no rules or restrictions on these devices, and they just would conveniently fix basically every problem we needed them to, and just out of nowhere, which can just suck the tension out of any scene. We're like, okay, well, if anything happens, they'll just do this and it's solved, because this thing just fixes and does whatever we want it to. It is weird once again to say this about a Spielberg film, but it just felt a bit lazy. Disclosure Day asks you a lot of philosophical and moral questions. Firstly, questions of morality, censorship, right to information, free speech, and even faith. But unfortunately, it's spinning so many of those plates up in the air that never really answers these questions. And because there is so many questions up in the air, I didn't leave the cinema like thinking and questioning, oh, what would I do or what wouldn't I do? Because it's sort of so hard to like focus on one of them. And I think like one strong question in general to leave the audience with and go away from, and then debate in the car with their friends or family if they had seen it with people, unlike myself, who once again watched a movie by themselves.
Baby, I'm playing on you tonight.
Can be such a strong thing and really does generate great word of mouth for a movie as well. Unlike the movie Arrival, which is one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time and probably one of my all-time favorite movies as well, that movie ends and leaves you with a really direct and strong question. And now anyone that has seen that movie, I can ask them, hey, what do you think of the ending? What would you do in that situation? It just spurs a conversation about the film. This one, I can't really point directly to which question it asks me is the most important question and what it is actually trying to ask or put forth to the audience. Another thing Disclosure Day does is it starts the film in the middle of the action, and that can be exciting because things are really going when this film starts. It did make me do like a double take and make sure I didn't pass out for like half an hour and miss most of this movie. I was genuinely like, do I need to go and get a fucking scan or something? Because I feel like I am totally just blacked out and might have a lump in my brain or something. But no, that's just where the film begins. And like I mentioned, that makes it more exciting, but it did lead to later on in the film a bunch of exposition dumps. I would have preferred to see these things instead of someone for 10 minutes telling me all these cool things that have happened. Show don't tell, one of the staples of filmmaking. Order in the court. Now time for the verdict. In this segment, I will give you my final thoughts and my verdict on this movie, and that being a ranking on my very, very comprehensive ranking system. Disclosure Day is a good movie, and I do even believe there is a great movie in there. But unfortunately, it's a movie that is in a constant battle between being a fun, cross-country sci-fi adventure film and a sci-fi thriller that has something to say and a question to leave you with. It asks the audience too many questions, doesn't give enough answers, and unfortunately is so unfocused that I don't really know what point it was trying to make. It does feature some of the most breathtaking camera work I've ever seen, and overall performances were fine, cinematography was fine, and it does have that Spielberg magic and charm that all of his movies do have, but for this movie, it is definitely not for everyone. But thank you very much for watching this video. What did you think of Disclosure Day? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you going to go check it out? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. I love you.